Little is known about how instrumental we were at the beginning of the 20th century in the development of the automobile. I mean, there were literally hundreds of manufacturers here in Indiana, whether they made one car or made thousands. But I mean, Indianapolis is home of the Marmon, the Stutz, National, Pathfinder, Perry, just some phenomenal cars. Plus, you know, throughout Indiana, well, Duesenberg, of course. How can we forget that? And the Auburn Cord, Studebaker, you know, and just many manufacturers here in the state. And I think more needs to be done to inform the public on how instrumental we were in the early development of the automobile.
This was Silicon Valley, and I was at the Elwood Haynes Museum up in Kokomo, and there's some pictures on the wall of the fellows who were working with him. This is in the very early 1900s when they were developing Stellite. And I was looking at these pictures. These are young guys, and I'm thinking, these are the same guys that you see in the pictures of Silicon Valley. They were young tech guys. Indiana was a craft automotive manufacturer doing high-end stuff at a high level of craftsmanship that was expensive. Now the bad news is that when a depression comes along, that ain't good if you're making high-end products. And if you can amortize your development costs across hundreds of thousands of units, you can blow away the competition that only is making a few thousand units. So that's why the Indiana homegrown automotive industry died, but the innovations were pretty much absorbed by the mainstream industry across the board. I think cars are the preeminent art form of the 20th century. I think 300 years from now, when we're all dead and gone, people will still be studying these things. Or whatever new robotic form of life has taken over, will view them as direct ancestors. So I think that they're an amalgam of engineering, art, economics, culture. I mean, you can see the demise of families having servants, middle-class families having servants, with the disappearance of cars that were designed to be chauffeur-driven and the advent of personal luxury cars like the Cadillac Fleetwood 60 Special. You see these societal developments.
Well, again, I look at it the way Donn does, but to me, these are art. I mean, if you look at the lines, and as Donn says, I mean, they're a sign of their times. This car typifies the Art Deco era. I love Art Deco. And not only whether it's the cars, it's the items that, you know, were in your house, gas pumps back then. I mean, to me, those are pieces of art compared to what we have today. And it's automobilia. It really is. Yeah, I do enjoy chasing parts down for the cars. It's a challenge, and finding out what was supposed to be, or the way it was supposed to be originally. That's part of the fun of it, is you know, tracking down these pieces.
We were just saying, it gets worse all the time, because particularly with cars that have complex technology like a Cord, that nevertheless is very old, the fellows who really know how to work on these things and know all the ins and outs are leaving us. They're of an earlier generation.
There are plenty of options for someone who wants to get into the hobby. The important thing is to find a car that they're looking for, that interests them, and you know, just go out and do some research, and you know, whether they find one that's totally restored or one that needs a total restoration, they're out there.
If you're interested in a particular make, join the club. Absolutely crucial, because you'll get publications that are specific, and most clubs have technical people that you can talk to, and you just get to know people who can guide you in your search or in your acquisition, and maybe even give you leads to good vehicles.
It's a whole different ball game, obviously. You know, people say, well, isn't that hard to drive? These cars were made to drive, you know, by people like us, and believe it or not, they're relatively easy to drive. It's amazing the performance they had back then. Sure, a car like this is not going to corner like a '69 Camaro, but the ride on them is phenomenal. And yes, I say each one of them is different.
And I think an important point, and I've started to hear people say this at shows, is they go, man, guys designed these things without any computers. They did these things with slide rules and with manual drawing. So that really is an important thing, that these cars, these pre-computer age cars, are not only devoid of any digital electronics, they are all mechanical and all of their ignition systems are electromechanical. They were designed without any help from computers, so it's truly something that came out of someone's head.